Groom-to-be sits me down one day before our wedding, and tells me we need to postpone it, and turn it into a divorce party instead, because his golden sister just got served by her husband for being a cheat. Now he's calling me a red flag, because I told him there's no need to postpone, and both the siblings can celebrate being single together. I, 28, female, have been with my fiancé, Terry, 30, male, for 5 years. And we were supposed to get married tomorrow. Yep, you read that right. Were. Because as of last night, everything flipped upside down and I'm still sitting here trying to wrap my head around what just happened. I can't even fully process it yet, but writing it out might help me make some sense out of it. Terry and I met through mutual friends at a housewarming party. It was one of those casual weekend get-togethers with snacks, drinks, and way too many people crammed into one apartment. We ended up standing near the chips and dip, chatting about some obscure indie band that no one else had heard of. And from that moment on, we kind of just clicked. He was charming and funny in this low-key self-deprecating way that I found really comforting. He actually listened when I talked and I felt like he saw me in a way that most people didn't. We started dating not long after that night and things just flowed naturally between us. 3 years into the relationship and he proposed during a weekend trip to the mountains. We were staying in this little Airbnb cabin drinking wine by the fire and I thought he was just being sweet and sentimental. Then he pulled out the ring and I burst into tears before I even said yes. It felt right. It felt meant to be. Since then, we've spent the last year and a half planning our wedding. I'm talking venue booked, photographer hired, dress altered, cake flavors tasted, all of it. We had 120 guests flying in from all over. Caterers confirmed, flowers arranged, hotel blocks reserved, everything. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, but instead I'm sitting here with a half-packed bag, no wedding, and a fiancé who's suddenly a complete stranger to me. Terry's always been really close to his family, especially his older sister, Olivia, 44, female. She's kind of the golden child, successful lawyer, big house, married to Richard, 46, male, who's a surgeon. They've got 2 kids, a picture-perfect life, and Terry absolutely idolizes her. He looks up to her in this way that's honestly been a little intense at times. Whenever he made big decisions, he'd want her opinion. When we got engaged, her reaction seemed to matter more to him than anyone else's, including his own parents. At first, I didn't mind. Olivia was warm and friendly and even helped us with the early stages of wedding planning. She gave us vendor recommendations, helped scout venues, and seemed genuinely happy for us. But about 3 months ago, something shifted. Olivia started pulling away. She'd bail on plans last minute, barely made eye contact at family dinners, was glued to her phone 24/7. At first, I assumed she was just stressed with work or maybe going through something personal. Terry noticed, too, but he didn't seem too concerned. He just chalked it up to work being crazy for her. I didn't press it. Life happens, right? Then yesterday, literally one day before our wedding, Terry came home looking like he'd seen a ghost. I thought maybe someone had died. He sat me down and told me that Olivia had just been served divorce papers that morning. Her husband, Richard, found out she'd been having an affair with some guy she worked with, not just one-time thing, a full-on 6-month affair, and he had proof. Texts, emails, hotel receipts, the whole thing. Richard wasn't interested in reconciling. He was furious and was already going after full custody of their kids. He said Olivia's moral character made her unfit for joint custody. Apparently, it was ugly and fast and completely out of nowhere. I was stunned, shocked. Yeah, but mostly just sad. Sad for the kids, sad for the loss of something that looked so perfect on the outside. I told Terry that obviously it was a terrible situation and we'd do what we could to support Olivia through it, but right now we had a wedding tomorrow. And that's when Terry completely blindsided me. He said we needed to postpone the wedding. I didn't get it at first. I thought maybe he meant a few hours or a day just to process everything. But no, he meant cancel it. Cancel our wedding that we planned for over a year and turn the whole thing into a divorce party for Olivia. He wanted to keep the venue, food, music, even the decorations, and just pivot everything into a celebration of Olivia's new freedom and independence. His words, not mine. He said it would be inappropriate to celebrate love and marriage while his sister's world was crumbling, that it felt wrong to go ahead with the wedding while Olivia was in so much pain. I thought he was joking. I really truly did. But when I saw the look on his face, I realized he was dead serious. He genuinely wanted to cancel our wedding and instead use the whole day to cheer up his sister, who, let's not forget, cheated on her husband for half a year and blew up her family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was sitting there staring at the man I was supposed to marry in less than 24 hours. And it was like I didn't even recognize him. He wasn't asking me if I was okay with it. He was just telling me as if my feelings didn't matter. As if this wedding wasn't something we'd both poured our hearts and souls into for months. As if 120 guests hadn't spent money and time to be there for us. As if this entire day wasn't supposed to be about us. I just sat there completely numb. He kept going on about how Olivia needed this, how we could make it fun, how it was a chance to turn something painful into something empowering. And all I could think was, what about me? What about us? Does our relationship, our future, our moment just not matter anymore? After the initial shock wore off a little, I tried to stay calm and think clearly. I figured maybe Terry was just reacting emotionally and that once we talked it through, he'd realize how unreasonable it was to cancel our entire wedding for something that wasn't even directly about us. So, I tried to offer a compromise. I suggested that maybe we could still go ahead with our wedding like we had planned. And then afterward, once all the official stuff was done, maybe Olivia could have her own celebration, a fresh start, a divorce party, whatever she wanted. They could even do something together if it meant that much to him. Him celebrating the end of his bachelor life and her the end of her marriage. I thought it made sense. It felt like a fair middle ground, and that way our day would still be about us and Olivia would still get the support she needed in her own time and space. But Terry didn't take it that way at all. His reaction honestly left me speechless. He got mad, like really mad. He said I was being selfish, that I was putting myself above his family. He called me out for being insensitive and accused me of not caring about what Olivia was going through. He even said I was showing red flag behavior for not immediately agreeing to put everything on hold for her. Then he threw this line at me that my response was making him question everything about us and whether we really were meant to be together. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about postponing a party. This was about priorities, values, and how Terry saw our relationship. I felt like I had walked through a door into an alternate reality where nothing made sense anymore. Here I was trying to be reasonable, trying to hold on to the day we'd planned and dreamed about for months. And somehow I was the villain in his eyes. Suddenly I was disloyal and cold for not throwing away everything to comfort his sister, the same sister who had blown up her own life by having an affair. I'm sitting here now, less than 24 hours from what was supposed to be my wedding day. And I honestly don't even know where I stand anymore. My dress is hanging in the closet. Our guests have started arriving. People have flown in from out of state, taken time off work, spent money on gifts and hotels. My parents have spent tens of thousands of dollars to make this day special for us. And most of all, I've spent the last year and a half picturing this moment, walking down the aisle, exchanging vows, starting our life together. I still love Terry. Or at least I thought I did. But I'm starting to realize I might not really know him as well as I believed I did because the person I've been dealing with the past 24 hours isn't someone I recognize. I keep asking myself, is this who he truly is when things get hard? Someone who puts his sister's personal drama above our relationship? Someone who doesn't even consider how this impacts me? Someone who flips the script and blames me for not sacrificing everything? I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I'm not saying Olivia has to pretend like everything's fine. She doesn't even have to come to the wedding if she's not up for it. I totally understand that. But canceling everything at the very last minute just to throw her a party, that feels extreme. Like really extreme. And I can't help but wonder if I'm missing something. Is there some deeper family dynamic here that I don't understand? Is this some kind of codependent relationship between them that I never fully saw? I'm completely lost. I feel like I'm trapped in this surreal situation where I'm being made to feel guilty for wanting my own wedding day. I'm not trying to be cold or heartless. I just want to celebrate something good in the middle of all this chaos. And right now, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should stay, leave, call off the wedding for good, or wait and see if he comes to his senses. Everything feels broken. I don't even know where to start picking up the pieces. If anyone has any advice, insight, anything, I'm all ears because nothing makes sense anymore. Update 1. Hi guys, this is a quick update. First, I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support and advice. The past few hours have been a whirlwind, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. After posting here, I took some time to think and decided to stand my ground. I called Terry and told him that while I sympathize with Olivia's situation, I wasn't willing to postpone our wedding or turn it into a divorce party. I explained that our wedding is about our commitment to each other and that canceling at the last minute would not only be financially devastating, but would disappoint all our guests who had made arrangements to be there. Terry didn't take it well. He accused me of being insensitive and said his family needed him right now. He then dropped another bombshell. He had already called the venue and several vendors to discuss changing our wedding into a family support gathering. He hadn't canceled anything yet, but had started the process without even consulting me. I was furious and hurt that he would make such decisions unilaterally, especially regarding something as significant as our wedding. I decided I needed to talk to Olivia directly. I drove to her house, expecting to find her devastated, but what I found was surprising. She was calm, drinking wine with a friend, and seemed almost relieved about the divorce. When I mentioned Terry's suggestion about postponing our wedding for a divorce party, she looked genuinely confused and then embarrassed. She told me she never asked for that and would be horrified if we canceled our wedding on her account. Turns out Olivia had suspected Richard knew about her affair for weeks. The divorce papers weren't a shock to her, and while she was sad about her marriage ending, she had already come to terms with it. She was more concerned about custody arrangements and keeping things civil for the kids. I called Terry immediately after leaving Olivia's house and told him what she said. His response was bizarre. He insisted that even if Olivia didn't ask for the wedding to be postponed, it was the right thing to do because how could we celebrate love when love had failed his sister? I pointed out that people get divorced all the time without their siblings canceling major life events, but he wouldn't budge. After talking with my parents and maid of honor, I made a difficult decision. I told Terry that the wedding would proceed as planned with or without him. If he chose not to show up, I would inform our guests of the situation and turn the event into a celebration with the people who love and support me. To my surprise, he showed up at my parents' house an hour later. He was calmer, but still insisted on postponing. When he realized I wasn't backing down, he finally revealed what I think is the real issue. He's scared. Seeing his sister's marriage fall apart has triggered some serious commitment anxiety for him. He admitted that he's worried about ending up like Olivia and Richard, and postponing the wedding seemed like a way to avoid making a mistake. We talked for hours. I tried to reassure him that we're not Olivia and Richard, that every relationship is different and that we've built a strong foundation. He seemed to be listening, but by the end of our conversation, he still asked for time to think. He left, and I haven't heard from him since last night. I've decided to go ahead with the wedding preparations while waiting for his final decision. My dress is ready, the venue is set, and our guests are arriving. Whether this ends with a wedding or not, I'm going to face tomorrow with dignity. I'll update again when I know more. Right now, I'm just trying to stay strong and remind myself that I deserve someone who is as committed to our relationship as I am. Update 2. I just want to start by saying thank you again to everyone who reached out after my first post. I honestly didn't expect it to get so much attention, and I definitely didn't expect the amount of support, kindness, and insight that came pouring in. It made me feel a little less alone during what was probably the most surreal and emotionally draining week of my life. So, the wedding day, it didn't happen, or at least not in the way we had all imagined for the past year and a half. The morning of the big day, I got a text from Terry. Just a text. He said he couldn't go through with it. Not because of Olivia anymore, but because he needed more time to think about our future together. No real explanation beyond that. No phone call, no face-to-face conversation, just a message a few hours before guests were supposed to start arriving, before makeup artists and photographers were due, and before the dress and flowers and music and vows. I stared at my phone for what felt like forever. I wasn't even angry at that point. I think I was too emotionally spent to feel anything but numb. It almost felt like I'd been expecting it, like some part of me had already accepted that this might not happen, especially after the chaos of the previous couple of days. But I had to make a decision fast. We had 120 guests in town, many of whom had traveled from different states, some even from overseas. Everything was paid for, the venue, the food, the flowers, the music. It was all set up, waiting. And while I was sitting there in my robe staring at a phone that felt heavier than it should have, my phone kept lighting up with messages from guests, people saying they couldn't wait to see us, people asking about parking, people wishing us luck. It was like the world didn't realize it had already cracked open for me. So, I did what I could. I talked to my parents and my bridal party. And after a few tears and some hugs, I decided I wasn't going to let everything go to waste. We turned the day into something else. Not a wedding, but a celebration of love and friendship. I sent out a mass text explaining very briefly that the wedding wasn't happening as planned, but that everyone was still welcome to come enjoy the food, dance, and be part of a celebration. I didn't go into details. I wanted to spare Terry any public shaming. Not because I felt protective of him at that point, but because I didn't want my day, even a changed version of it, to be soaked in bitterness. And you know what? So many people still showed up, friends, family, even a few of Terry's relatives who were just as stunned and disappointed as I was. The venue staff were absolute angels. They rearranged the setup quickly, took down the ceremony arch, and adjusted the decor to feel less formal and more festive. They made it feel like a classy party instead of a broken wedding. My maid of honor gave the most beautiful, tear-inducing speech about love, resilience, and knowing your worth. My dad, who had been looking forward to our father-daughter dance since the day I got engaged, still danced with me. And honestly, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. People clapped and cheered and cried and hugged me like I was the bride and the survivor, which I guess in some way I was. And then came one of the weirdest surprises of the night. Olivia showed up. I hadn't expected her to come at all, especially after how everything went down. But she came and she apologized to me privately, really sincerely, for the role her situation played in Terry's mental spiral. I told her it wasn't her fault because at the end of the day, it was Terry who made the decisions he made. Still, she shared something that helped me understand a little more. Apparently, when Olivia and Terry were kids, their parents had gone through a messy divorce. Terry was only 10, but he'd taken it upon himself to protect Olivia, who was older, but emotionally vulnerable. She told me he used to give up things he wanted just to make her feel okay, skipping outings, giving up gifts, constantly checking in on her. And apparently that dynamic never really changed. Even as adults, anytime she had a crisis, big or small, Terry would drop everything for her. She said she tried over the years to pull back and set boundaries, but Terry resisted every time. Almost like his identity was wrapped up in being her protector. She was kind about it, not making excuses, just explaining the dynamic, and it honestly made a lot of things click into place for me. I still don't think it justifies what he did, but I do think it explains part of why he was so quick to flip everything upside down. He sees Olivia hurting and instinctively goes into savior mode, no matter the cost, even if that cost is his own relationship. But the night didn't stop there. Richard, yes, Olivia's soon-to-be ex, also showed up. That one was a complete shock. He hadn't been invited, but a mutual friend had told him what happened. I braced myself for drama, but he wasn't there to stir anything up. He pulled me aside and genuinely apologized that their divorce played a part in ruining my wedding. He seemed like a good guy who was just trying to deal with his own pain in a mature way. He and Olivia ended up talking in a quiet corner for almost an hour, and from what I could tell, it was calm, even warm at times. It gave me some hope that maybe their divorce wouldn't be the messy, soul-crushing battle everyone feared. As for Terry, he started blowing up my phone the moment photos started surfacing online. People were posting happy moments from the event, the dancing, the speeches, the hugs. He hadn't expected me to go ahead with anything, let alone turn it into something so joyful. He sent text after text saying he made a mistake, that he panicked, that seeing everyone there without him made him realize what he was giving up. He wants to fix things now. He wants to talk about rescheduling the wedding, about making things right. But I haven't given him an answer. I don't know what to say. I still love him? Or maybe I love the version of him I thought I knew. But there's this part of me that keeps whispering, if he bailed once, what's stopping him from doing it again the next time life gets complicated? Can I trust that I'll ever come first, or will I always be second to someone else's crisis? Right now, I'm staying with my parents, just taking time to think, to breathe, to figure out what I actually want outside of all the noise. Terry and I had been living together, so there's also the practical side of figuring out what happens next with our shared stuff, the apartment, all of that. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing. I deserve better than what happened. And even though I didn't get the wedding I planned, I still ended up surrounded by love. And for now, that's enough. I'll update again once I've had more time to sit with everything and after I've had that inevitable face-to-face talk with Terry. One way or another, I'll have to decide what happens next. Update 3. I wanted to share one last update. And again, thank you so much to everyone who's followed along, commented, messaged, or just offered kind words. I never imagined that venting about a situation I barely understood myself would reach so many people, but the support and empathy I received have been overwhelming in the best way. Yesterday, I met with Terry for the first time since the wedding that wasn't. We chose a quiet little coffee shop we used to go to all the time when we first started dating. It felt like the right kind of neutral ground, familiar, but not emotionally loaded the way our apartment or the venue might have been. I thought we were going to talk about whether we could possibly fix things between us. Instead, the conversation turned into something I never saw coming. Terry looked rough when he walked in. He'd clearly not been sleeping much, and I could tell right away that this wasn't going to be a quick or easy conversation. Before we even got into anything, he handed me a letter, handwritten in Olivia's handwriting. That alone stopped me cold. And then I read it. In the letter, Olivia admitted to something I had never even considered. She had deliberately exaggerated her emotional distress about the divorce and had directly encouraged Terry to postpone our wedding. She admitted that she'd always felt threatened by our relationship, especially by the attention Terry gave me that used to be focused solely on her. According to her, this jealousy had been simmering for a while, even before the engagement. Over the course of our relationship, she confessed that she had subtly manipulated Terry in small, consistent ways. Every time we had something important going on, a trip, a major milestone, a family event, some crisis in her life would pop up. Looking back now, it's disturbing how often we canceled or changed plans because of something going on with her. What blew my mind even more was that while her divorce from Richard was real, her dramatic reaction to it wasn't entirely genuine. She played up her grief and leaned heavily on Terry at the exact moment she knew he'd be the most emotionally vulnerable, right before the wedding. She hadn't expected him to take it as far as canceling everything and throwing a divorce party. But when he suggested it, she didn't stop him. In fact, she encouraged it, even though she knew exactly what it would mean for me. That part of the letter really got to me. It made me feel sick and sad all at once. But she said something else, too. After hearing about the event I went through with, the celebration of love and friendship, and after seeing the photos and realizing just how many people had shown up in support of me, something in her shifted. She said it was a wake-up call. Seeing the love and support I had around me and how people responded to Terry's absence forced her to see the consequences of her actions clearly for the first time. She said she realized just how much control she had tried to maintain over Terry's life, how much damage it had done, not just to him, but to me, to Richard, and to herself. Terry, sitting across from me, was emotional the whole time. He told me that after the non-wedding, he ended up having a deep conversation with Richard. Apparently, Richard had called out some of Olivia's patterns and how they'd been affecting everyone around her for years. That pushed Terry to really reflect, and eventually he confronted Olivia. And that's when she admitted everything and wrote the letter. Terry apologized over and over again. He admitted that for most of his life, he thought being a good brother meant dropping everything the moment Olivia needed something, whether it was serious or not. He said he now sees how that blurred line had affected every relationship he's ever had, including ours. He started seeing a therapist, not just to process what happened, but to actually understand these long-standing family dynamics and start working on boundaries, real ones. He said he wants another chance, but also said he understood if I couldn't trust him again. And honestly, I didn't have an answer for him right then. I still don't. Because while it explains a lot, and I do believe he's being genuine now, there's still a huge part of me that's scared. Scared that if he was able to let go of me and our wedding so quickly once, he could do it again. Scared that he won't recognize red flags early enough next time. Scared that some part of him will always prioritize other people's emotions over mine when things get messy. Later that day, I did something I didn't think I'd ever do. I met with Olivia. I needed to look her in the eye and hear her say it all out loud, and she didn't run from it. She admitted everything just like she had in the letter, and she seemed genuinely remorseful. She told me she's also started therapy and wants to figure out why she behaved the way she did. Richard was with her. He didn't say much, but he confirmed that while the divorce is still happening, and yes, the affair she had was real, they're trying to move forward in a more civil way, especially for their kids. It was weirdly humanizing, messy, painful, but honest. As for me and Terry, we've decided on a 6-month break. Not a full breakup, but a conscious separation with a clear boundary. He's going to keep working on his issues, on building healthy independence from his sister, and on figuring out who he is outside of his family obligations. I'm going to focus on myself, on my career, my friends, and the people who showed up when it mattered. I want time to rebuild my trust in myself to know that no matter what happens with Terry, I'll be okay. We've agreed to meet again in 6 months. If by then we both feel like we've made real progress, and still want to be together, we'll talk about starting fresh. New engagement, new wedding plans, maybe even premarital counseling to help us keep everything clear and healthy moving forward. No rushing, no pressure, just clarity and honesty. I don't know what the future holds. I still have love for Terry. But I'm not letting that love cloud my judgment anymore. What I do know is that I've learned more about myself in the last few weeks than I probably did in the last few years. I've learned that I'm stronger than I ever thought and that I can pivot when everything falls apart and that I'm surrounded by people who truly care. Oh, and just to answer some of the most common questions I've been getting since the last post. Yes, I returned all of the wedding gifts. I sent thank you notes to everyone explaining the situation in a gentle, respectful way. A lot of people told me to just keep the gifts, but it didn't feel right. Returning them felt like the clean, responsible thing to do. Financially, it was definitely a hit. Some vendors were kind enough to offer partial refunds or allow us to use the deposits for future events. Others, not so much. But all things considered, it could have been worse. And I'm grateful we were able to salvage part of the cost. As for Richard, no, I don't blame him at all for sharing the truth about the affair right before the wedding. He had literally just found out and was dealing with his own shock. Our wedding wasn't on his radar, nor should it have been. The issue was never his timing. The issue was how Terry responded and how deep the family dysfunction really went. That's it for now. Maybe I'll post again in 6 months after we talk. But for now, I'm choosing peace and healing. No more chaos, no more drama. Just time to rebuild, recover, and move forward, whatever direction that ends up being. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart.